Hey, Pretty Girl Club. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope you guys are enjoying your day. I'm sitting here drinking my black tea, but I was thinking about the concept of privilege and how a lot of people who do not have the same privileges as you, they want you to feel guilty about receiving privilege. And the reason they're trying to guilt trip you is because they want you to stop receiving that privilege. They want you to opt out of that privilege. But I don't think you should opt out of any of the privileges you receive in life because we live in a messed up society. We live in a society that is capitalist, it's messed up. They treat people differently based on things like how you look or how much money you have. And so, if you happen to be born with anything at all that can give you any sort of advantage in life, I say you should use it to the fullest because this world is already like against you, for lack of better words. Other people, they're not going to pull you up by your bootstraps and drag you to the top or drag you to the finish line. It's up to you to get to where you want to go in life. It's up to you to fulfill your own goals or your own destiny or purpose or whatever. So, this is why I say that I embrace any privilege I can have access to. And I do not feel guilty about it because the same people who want to guilt trip you for being pretty, or maybe you're multiracial or something like that, maybe you're tall and you play college sports, the same people who guilt trip you would gladly take your privilege if they had the opportunity. So I just feel like people who go out of their way to complain about how they failed in life because they didn't receive a certain privilege, no, they would take your privilege in a heartbeat if they could. And also, anybody who complains about not having a certain privilege or anyone who bullies a person for having a particular privilege, that person does not understand sociology and psychology. This society that we live in will always be granting privileges to certain individuals based on a number of factors. It could be something like able body privilege, it could be based on skin tone, race, ethnicity, socioeconomic privileges. So even if you did opt out and say, okay, I'm not going to try out for this acting role, I'm going to give an opportunity to a dark skinned, unambiguous, monoracial black woman to get this opportunity. Even if you were to opt out, they still may not even pick an unambiguous dark-skinned black woman. They still might just pick another mixed girl or another light-skinned girl. Or if you don't try out for the varsity volleyball team because you're tall and you don't want to have too much privilege, they'll just pick another tall girl. So privileges and pedestals aren't going anywhere in this society. And I'm not trying to say that like you should be mean to others or that you should like bully others. Although I will say though, this channel is not religious. This channel is not, I do not moral police people on this channel. I feel like morals are subjective and they depend on the circumstance. So you get to decide whether or not you want to clap back on others. I fully support if you decide to clap back, or if you decide to stand up for yourself when you're being bullied or mistreated. I mean, that's your personal choice. But privileges aren't going anywhere. And there are a lot of privileges out there that you can have access to. I've noticed that whatever privilege you get the most jealous of, that is the privilege that you most likely want the most. I've noticed, for example, in the unambiguous monoracial black community, they tend to be jealous or upset over things like colorism, texturism, featureism. So it seems like those three privileges are some of the privileges that those women seem to want the most because maybe they feel like they don't have access to those privileges. And another one is pretty privilege. So whatever pretty privilege means to you, I've noticed that different people have different definitions of what is pretty. So it might be having a nice body and, having smooth, clear skin or whatever. Fitting a certain beauty standard is something that is important to a lot of people. And my thing is, whatever privilege is important to you, you have a right to pursue that privilege. You can feel free to try to attain that privilege because like I said on this channel, you only have two options when it comes to privilege. Either change yourself to attain XYZ privilege. So if you are so obsessed and so mad, I hate my 4C hair, blah, 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 everybody else has easier hair. If it's that serious, get a relaxer. Yes, that's right. I just said get a fucking relaxer and call it a day because number one, it's your body. Number two, when it comes to privileges, let's say you're the type of person who changed yourself to fit the privilege. It's nobody's business that you changed yourself. People change themselves to attain certain privileges in society all the time. People will get plastic surgeries, they'll get Botox, they'll get a facelift, they'll get lipo. And so if you want to change your hair texture or you want to wear some contacts or something so that you can experience XYZ privilege, then that is your choice. And also, I actually recommend changing yourself to attain a certain privilege because attaining privileges that actually can help with your self-awareness. So for example, when I was in college, I've always been like somewhat thin, like maybe a size 6 or so, but I still have curves, like I still have an hourglass shape. But when I got to college and I wanted to do runway modeling, like I wanted to make money off of that and stuff, I was not a size 0. They tended to pick women that were like a size 0, maybe a size 2. And so I was like, okay, let me just lose weight and just push my thin privilege to the absolute limit and just see how skinny I can get. And then I'll just test it out and kind of see if being skinnier grants me with more privileges. And then if I don't like it, it's fine. Then I just won't do it anymore. I'll gain the weight back and like it's not a big deal. So I tested it out. I lost about 30 pounds. So I was actually underweight by the time I hit like a size 0. And when I experienced thin privilege, yes, it actually did work. Like, so me getting thinner, it caused me to have even more thin privilege, especially in the modeling field. And also, I noticed that there were other side effects of being that skinny, such as I could go to the Dollar Tree or go to some super cheap beauty supply store and purchase a crop top for like $2 and it fits me perfectly. My body literally looked like a mannequin. I noticed that I didn't have to eat as much food in order to feel full and satiated. It caused me to look younger. It also caused me to look even taller. So I'm 5'9", and when I was super skinny, people were like, "Oh, you're 5'11". Oh, you're like 5'10". So I actually liked being perceived as taller because for runway modeling, that's really good. So even if I am not a size 0 anymore, I have personally experienced the thin privilege that comes with being a size 0. So at least I have the memory of it, at least I have the experience of it, and at least I have an idea of what it is like or what my life would look like at that size. So on this channel, I do not shame women for wanting to access particular privileges. The only people that shame you for wanting to access privilege are the ones who secretly want that exact privilege deep down inside, and they are jealous because you were bold enough and courageous enough to actually lose the weight or to actually, get a perm or whatever. I've noticed that when it comes to relaxers, I've never had a complex about relaxers and perms. Like on this channel, my thing is, as long as you pay your exotical tax, I actually don't care what you do. So if you admit to yourself, hey, I think that women who have 3C hair, like, oh my gosh, that hair texture is so gorgeous, it's so beautiful, let me relax my hair so that I can get to that texture. If you do that, that's fine. I actually don't care about people who do that. But what I get annoyed about is when people they make fun of your hair. They call you a ramen noodle head ass bitch, or they say you're mediocre, you're basic, you're not that pretty, your hair's not that pretty. And then they go behind the scenes and they want to get a relaxer to look exactly like you. Well, yeah, that's when I have a problem. That is when I will call your ass out. And yes, I will be petty with you. And yes, I will talk about it because I don't like when women try to attain a privilege, but then they want to take away yours because that's a sign of jealousy. They want to replace you. It's so funny because women will say, you're replacing us. For example, they'll say it with like mixed race women. You are representing blackness in the media, or light skinned women are representing black women in the media. They're replacing us. But then deep down inside, these women are replacing themselves, number one, because they're changing their phenotypes to look like you, and they want to actually replace you. So they will tell you you're not that light skinned, and then behind the scenes, they'll be bleaching to become your color, or they'll be bleaching so they can get lighter than you. And then they'll say, oh yeah, I'm lighter than so-and-so. I'm lighter than you now. So it's like, no, just admit that you want to compete for, I guess, light skin privilege, if that's something that's important to you. And that's what it is. You wanted that skin tone. You, deep down inside, you want that hair texture. So on this channel, I do not shame women for their wants and desires because I understand that not everybody is born, actually, nobody is born looking exactly how they want to look. Every woman who is experiencing some sort of privilege they have groomed themselves, they have straightened their teeth, they have, they maintain their skin, they try to keep their acne under control, they get braces. So everybody is technically changing themselves somehow so that they can attain a certain privilege. And also, the privilege that a person is working towards, it's not always pretty privilege. Sometimes it's, I want to be more confident or I want to be more healthy. Like for me, when it comes to straightening my teeth, not only do I want my teeth to look perfect, but I also want my bite and my jaw and everything to like be healthy so that I'm not biting my cheek or like biting my tongue and stuff like that. I want to make sure that my actual teeth are aligned. And yes, that is a privilege. Health is definitely a privilege. That's one of the biggest privileges in life. So, here on this channel, I support the concept of dark femininity. I support the concept of embracing whatever privileges you want to have or pursuing whatever privileges you see fit for yourself. And also, if you are a little bit more extreme, well, I wouldn't even call it extreme, but if you feel like it's going to take some surgical changes or, you're going to have to do certain things to drastically change yourself, whether it's losing a lot of weight or, getting cosmetic dentistry. Maybe your teeth are like they need surgery and stuff, or maybe you have to get some teeth removed and you have to get dentures put in. Whatever it takes for you to feel that confidence and for you to navigate through society how you want to, that is your right. Nobody has the right to tell you how to navigate through society. So you can shame people all you want, but guess what? You didn't take away their pretty privilege. Like the people who shame like BBLs or they shame plastic surgeries and stuff, they shame women that get their bodies done. It's like you can shame that woman all you want, but she is still experiencing pretty privilege. She is still experiencing the privilege of having an hourglass shape or having, I don't know, a Coke bottle shape or whatever shape she was trying to get with the surgery. She is still experiencing that privilege every day. She is still navigating through society with that BBL or with a skinny BBL, because I've seen that too, where a lot of white women or women who are like extremely thin, they will get a skinny BBL where they will take the little bit of fat from their bodies and just put it on their butt so that they have like a little booty now. Well, guess what? Just because you called it out, that didn't take away how she's being treated in society. That didn't take away the fact that she has a body that looks how she wants it to look. I've noticed that what a lot of people are jealous of when they talk about privilege, it's really not the privilege in and of itself. Oftentimes, women are jealous of the confidence. They're jealous of the confidence that those people have. They feel like XYZ type of person with XYZ privilege has a higher level of confidence than I do. And I've noticed that for a lot of people, privilege stacking or pursuing certain privileges, whether it is, financial or socioeconomic or with dating, maybe you want to date guys that are not like dusty thugs and stuff. I've noticed that for a lot of people, what they're really seeking after is they want confidence, they want a sense of security, like if they're seeking financial privilege. And I don't think there is anything wrong with that. This channel is not ever going to shame people for pursuing certain privileges or taking ownership over your own life and the type of life you want to live and going for it. I feel like a lot of people who get mad about privilege, for example, I'll use light skin privilege. A lot of people who get mad about light skin privilege, they are mad because of dating options. A lot of those women are, for lack of better words, maybe they're more like a femcel or something, or maybe they have never experienced having a lot of guys in their phone or something like that. And so they see lighter skinned women who have a lot of guys in their phone. I'm just making this whole scenario up. I know that not everybody thinks like this, but this is just an example. Maybe they see girls who happen to have a light skinned phenotype with more guys in their phone or whatever, and so they just want to experience that. I am actually not against if a person wants to change themselves so that they can at least experience whatever it is, like whatever privilege they're trying to attain. And then they can, decide, okay, do I want to keep this privilege? Do I want to stay brighter? So the reason that I don't tend to attack people who are bleachers and tanners, like people who change their skin tone. So like Ariana Grande changing to be like basically a light skinned woman, a mixed race woman, or people who bleach themselves. The reason that I don't usually tend to attack those people so harshly is because the people who are doing stuff to themselves that is that drastic, changing their whole appearance to where, even their friends and family are like, oh, who's that? People who are doing stuff like that, usually they're actually very honest with themselves and honest with their friends and family. And they say, no, I believe that I will have more pretty privilege with this tan skin, with this golden skin tone. I believe that more people will be intrigued by my beauty if they see me at XYZ skin tone. And I believe that XYZ skin tone looks pretty. I believe it looks beautiful. It's pretty enough to the point where I want to completely change my skin tone to where I'm unrecognizable so that I can test out, like, okay, is this going to help my career? Is this going to help my dating options? Is this going to enhance my beauty? And then I get to decide, once I have the privilege, do I want to keep this privilege? Like, do I want to maintain this privilege? Do I want to maintain XYZ skin tone, XYZ weight, XYZ hair? Like, let's say you relax your hair or you dye your hair a different color. Do I want to maintain these light brown, these caramel highlights? Do I feel like it's worth it to have the privilege that comes with having freshly highlighted hair that looks very classy and posh and looks like I just got out of the salon? Is it worth maintaining these things? I believe that you only live once, basically, so you have the right to pursue whatever privileges you think will change your life. Or even if you are simply curious and you just want to see, how will people respond to me, just like how I did with the wigs. My hair is long or whatever. You know how people try to say, oh, but your hair is already long and curly. Like, why do you need to wear a wig? Because number one, I want to change my style. But also, number two, I want to see how society reacts to me. Like, are there any particular privileges that I can gain using different hair colors and hair textures? Do you see how honest I am on this channel? Like, seriously, at least I'm honest about my shit. I am honest. Wigs look better than my hair. Synthetic wigs look better than my natural curls because synthetic curly wigs, they do not react to humidity. All of the curls stay in the perfect shape, like it stays in the perfect coily, circly shape. Synthetic wigs are about 5 times thicker than human hair, just in general. The color of synthetic wigs, you can change the color every day. You can just order a new one for like $20. So at least I'm honest about what I want and how I want to look. So yes, I actually do believe that I experience more pretty privilege because when I have a synthetic curly wig on, for example, even if it's just a half wig, I actually prefer to wear half wigs or anything with leave out because I can blend my hair texture. But I've noticed when I wear synthetic curly wigs, half wigs and stuff, or clip-ins, it causes me to feel more confident. Also, my hairstyles look more like a princess. So for example, my hair is pretty fine. So if I were to wear my hair, my natural hair, in a curly side braid, the side braid is not going to be very thick. The side braid is just going to be like a thin stick looking thing. But if I put in some curly clip-ins or if I put in like a wavy half wig, and I just blend my hair over it, my side braid, I look like fucking Princess Jasmine. So hell yeah, I'm going to experience more privilege walking around looking like Princess Jasmine with a long, beautiful, thick braid versus if I just have my own natural hair. I've noticed that some people, especially in the unambiguous Black community, they have this obsession with being real. Like, oh, well, I'm real. You ain't real, you fake. You ain't authentic. I'm real and authentic. I'm keeping it 100. They have this obsession with everything being natural, and that's fine if you want everything to be natural and real, from your personality to your nails to your hair to your face. You don't want to wear any makeup or whatever. That's fine. You have the right to do that. But you know what else? I also have the right to be fake as fuck if I want to. If I want to get fake teeth, if I want fake boobs, if I want a fake butt or whatever, or I want lipo or something that is technically fake, then I have the right to do that. So I actually don't have a problem with people who are different than me. I have a problem when people start to police me and they try to influence me to do the same thing as them. And it's like, no, honey, I've already experienced the privileges that come with being very thin. And I like that privilege. Not everybody wants the same privileges in life, and not everyone prioritizes the same privileges. So for some people, skin tone, they feel like having a certain skin tone is going to change their lives. They feel like it's going to make everything, it's going to solve everything, or it's going to, I don't know, enhance their confidence. Whatever the reason is, there is a reason why people are changing their skin tones. Like, they're not just changing their skin tones or spending thousands of dollars on doing all of these little surgeries and all that to change their skin tones. They are doing it because there is a reason why. They feel like it's worth it. They feel like spending the money or taking the time to do that stuff is worth it. I will say, for me, when my skin tone is brighter, like when I treat hyperpigmentation and stuff, it does look better. Like, I'm just being honest. Like, I don't like having a whole bunch of dots on my legs, like strawberry legs. I do feel like my legs look smoother. They look more even when my skin is naturally brighter versus when I do a lot of time out in the sun. Sometimes when I spend a lot of time in the sun, then my legs get more hyperpigmentation. So I do feel more self-conscious when I wear shorts and stuff. So everybody has a reason that they're doing the things they're doing. And I also want to talk about some of the privileges I have pursued and some of the privileges that I always will pursue and the reasons why. And I'm talking about this because I want you to think, because this is a level up channel, I want you guys here in the Pretty Girl Club to start thinking, what privileges do I want and why do I want those privileges? And what is my goal with stacking those privileges? For example, one of the privileges that I want, or one of the privileges that I will always keep, is pretty privilege. I like pretty privilege. Oh, also like youth privilege. I'm just making it up because I can't think of any other way to describe it. But looking beautiful and looking young. So I like that privilege because I actually feel safer when I am pretty and when I look young. Because, for example, I remember there was a time, actually there have been multiple times in the past, where my car has broken down on the side of the road, and one time a guy, he stopped and he like helped me push my car. This is a random guy, and I absolutely feel like pretty privilege slash youth privilege. I feel like those two things helped me out. And then another time when my car broke down, it broke down on a hill. So I was like coming down this big hill, and then like my car just stopped, so I could not go. So I had to pull it over to the side. And this girl, she stopped her car next to mine and she was like, "Hey, do you need a ride? Like, do you want me to give you a ride home?" And I absolutely feel like that girl stopped. She was a Latin American girl. I feel like she stopped and offered me a ride because she perceived me as looking safe. You know, I just looked like this 20-something girl that's just standing there like in a dress on the side of the road on a hot day. And she offered me a ride. So I actually do feel like pretty privilege has those types of benefits. Like, being pretty, it actually does make me feel safer because I've noticed that others feel safer with me when I look pretty. Versus, think about if you see a guy on the street and he looks like an ogre and he literally looks scary. Well, you're probably not going to feel as safe. Versus if you see someone who looks pretty, they kind of have like maybe an innocent look or something like that. That might make others feel more comfortable with you, or at least that's been my experience. And so pretty privilege has actually helped save me from a lot of different things. I have gotten out of tickets before and stuff like that. I don't know if I would say it's from pretty privilege. I mean, but I guess I can't think of anything else where it would be from. Pretty privilege is helpful to me not just because of men or dating. I feel like a lot of women who do not have pretty privilege, they tend to think of pretty privilege only in terms of dates. And yes, it can help you with that. It can help you like get your bags or, get a guy to like buy you a drink or whatever. But pretty privilege can also affect your friendships. Like, I've noticed that being the quote unquote pretty friend, if I'm around people who are not jealous, by the way. So I'll talk about that in a second. But pretty privilege has actually affected my friendships in a positive way as well, because like I said on this channel before, beauty gives you social power. So if you haven't seen my other videos on this channel about how beauty gives you social power, definitely look into those. That is the main reason that I actually want pretty privilege. It's not for a guy, because I've actually decentered men. So I don't actually care if a guy ever wants me again or whatever, because I really do feel like guys on average bring more drama and negative emotions to your life versus positive. What I enjoy the most about pretty privilege is I like the social power that comes from that. So even in the context of female friendships, I've noticed that friends will kind of make you the authority on beauty stuff. They'll be like, "Oh, what do you think of this hairstyle? What do you think of this makeup thing?" That's actually how I became a makeup artist when I was in college. It's because other girls in the college at the HBCU, other girls thought that I was like pretty or whatever, and they were thinking if I could at least get my makeup like hers, then it's going to make me prettier and it's going to make me have more pretty privilege. Side note, I did actually end up doing makeup artistry for a girl who was competing in a pageant. She was unambiguous, by the way, and she actually won the pageant. So I'm not saying it's because of like me putting makeup on her, but maybe her having me as her makeup artist, maybe that helped her to feel more confident. Maybe that helped her to feel like she looked better, and maybe it helped her to feel better on stage, and that by default caused her to win the pageant. I mean, I definitely think that I contributed to her confidence that night. I mean, the way your makeup looks when you are competing in a pageant, that's very important. So for me, pretty privilege is actually about social power. It's actually about getting opportunities. Like I didn't go to college expecting for people to ask me to be their makeup artist, but because I like to take care of myself and be pretty or whatever and have cute little makeup looks, a cute little cat eye or whatever, a cute little pink eyeshadow, because I like to do my makeup and lashes and stuff, then other women actually noticed that and other women bestowed the pretty privilege upon me and they offered me an opportunity to help grant other women pretty privilege via being a makeup artist. I also remember people started asking me to do their hair. I would wear my hair natural. I would just wear it. I would wear it in pin curls sometimes. You know how you can like press your hair and then you put it in pins, in bobby pins. So I would do pin curls and like sometimes I would wear it down. And then other girls, they started asking me like, "Oh, can you do that hairstyle on me? Like, hey, can you curl my hair?" So yes, I actually started getting opportunities for money simply based on pretty privilege, and these are all from other women. So pretty privilege is not something that just works only with guys. It is something that can work with women who also want pretty privilege, but maybe they don't have the same pretty privilege as you, so they will ask you for tips like, "Hey, how do you do your hair? Like, how do you do this?" I remember same thing happened with doing nails. Like I've always been into different nail polishes and stuff. And then eventually other girls, they started coming into my dorm room and they were like, "Oh, are you a nail tech? Like, do you do nails? Can you do my nails?" And that was how I was able to build myself up. I literally built a whole resume and received so many random opportunities that had to do with the actual beauty industry simply based on my own personal beauty. And by the way, I'm not trying to say it like bragging, like, "Oh my God, I just look so perfect." I do not think that I look perfect or anything like that. But I'm just trying to talk to you guys about the psychology and the sociology of different privileges. Because when I have pretty privilege, those are the types of things I experience. Yes, people will start asking me, "Hey, do you want to randomly be a model for this?" Or, "Hey, do you want to, can you do my makeup and then I'll pay you?" Or, "Hey, I really like your Instagram pictures." Like one time this girl, she was like, "Oh, I really like your Instagram pictures. Can you be my photographer for my baby shower?" So I didn't actually end up doing it. I didn't end up being her photographer. But the fact that I got offered to literally get paid as a professional photographer because someone liked my photography that I did of myself, basically, on Instagram, that is something that you cannot, if you look like an ogre, people are probably not going to ask you to do certain things with them when it has to do with their beauty. So that is a part of why I like pretty privilege. But I will say, for some people, they attribute social power to other privileges, such as skin tone privilege is one of them, or maybe hair texture. They attribute a form of social power to that. So whatever other people find powerful, or whatever they feel will be the most powerful in terms of giving them social status, that is their personal business. I only get annoyed and call people out when they try to bash the social status that I've attained, and then they try to talk shit about me. It's like, "Oh no, you wish you had this social status." And I'm not saying it to like be a bully, but that's the reality of what it is. So like the pretty girls who get bullied at work, they are jealous of your social status. They're jealous of the status that comes with your beauty. They are jealous of the status that comes with the way you articulate yourself. They're jealous of the status that comes with the way that you dress, the way that you carry yourself, how classy and professional you are, how a lot of people take you seriously. They're jealous of the way that you're able to communicate with others, the way you're able to be charming. I've noticed, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I have noticed that a lot of women who, they either don't have pretty privilege or maybe they come from some sort of bad socioeconomic background. A lot of women in general lack charm. They don't have charm because in order to be charming, you have to have vulnerability. And a lot of women, they don't know how to be vulnerable. So for example, I know that for me, I am actually very charming. That's what I've been told by a lot of people. And that's because let's say I'm walking up to a guy, I'm on a date or something, and then I trip and fall right in front of him. And then I get back up. Like the way that I would respond is I would laugh or I would say, "Oh my gosh, like I'm such a spaz. Wow, I guess I'm falling for you," or something cheesy like that. Like, but that is actually considered charming. It's being cheesy, it's being corny, it is laughing at yourself, it's being vulnerable, like, "Oh my gosh, my hair is so frizzy today, I look like I got electrocuted," or something like that. Even like not being afraid of self-depreciating humor, as long as the humor is not like you're seriously putting yourself down, but just being able to be funny and joke around with others, including people that you don't really know very well. It's knowing how to break the ice. I've noticed that a lot of women do not have charm. And so let's say you have a lot of charm. Let's say you're pretty and charming. Oh, yeah, you're fucked. You're fucked. In the workplace? Oh, yeah, you're absolutely fucked because you can charm your way to a promotion. You can charm your way into new friendships. Charm is something that's actually very important. That is one of the main factors that I have used to grow this YouTube channel because I'm faceless on this YouTube channel. So I have actually used my charm and my wit and my humor to grow this channel because I can't rely on my beauty on this channel. I can't rely on pretty privilege or whatever. So if you're a woman who has those privileges, like I guess I'll call it personality privilege because I can't think of any other phrase. But if you are really good at that, like you're so good at talking to people, maybe you're an extrovert or maybe you're an introvert, but you're one of those outgoing introverts. Those tend to be actually some of the most popular people. Like one of the most popular girls in school, she was my BFF in college. She was actually an introvert, but because she was so peaceful, she didn't tell people secrets, she didn't gossip about people, but at the same time, she was also friendly and open and willing to try new things and like hang out with people and stuff. That made her extremely likable. So you get to decide what types of privileges you want because there are so many. I personally believe that there are actually hundreds, if not thousands, of different privileges that you either already have or that are easily attainable to you. But some women who are maybe they're male centered, they are obsessed with, oh, I want to have pretty privilege so that I can have more dating options. However, it's your life. So if you really do feel like you want the experience of guys talking to you and stuff or having a roster, like let's say you were always an ugly duckling and you never got to experience being the pretty girl, that's actually valid. I understand why girls would want to do that because I mean I was like that when I was a kid or when I was like in middle school and stuff because I wasn't allowed to date or talk to boys. So I understand the curiosity. For some people, they pursue different privileges because of curiosity. Kind of like me actually when it came to the wigs and the different hair textures. I wanted to see like, okay, if I put on a hard wig or, you know, a crusty wig or like a $20 wig, will people perceive me as more ratchet? Like I genuinely wanted to know. So yes, I tested it out. I put on the different wigs. I was like, will I be perceived as ratchet or will people be like, oh my God, like, will they treat me badly? Will I experience more racism? Will I look more black, quote unquote, or will I look less black? Or like, what's going to happen? So I started changing my hairstyle because I literally wanted to do kind of like a social experiment. And so I actually believe that social experimenting can help you to determine what privileges are most important. So yes, I changed my hair. I started off by doing a caramel brown. So I did like an ombre, like one of those very cheap wigs. I'll try to find a picture of it on Amazon if I can. But it was one of those very cheap wigs that just was straight and then it went into an ombre. And I noticed that I actually ended up getting more attention. Nobody thought that I was ratchet or anything. Nobody said anything negative. And I noticed that it changed the way that people perceive me. I noticed that for me personally, if I lighten my hair in any way, I noticed more people will start speaking to me in Spanish. More people will, like more Latin American guys in particular, have tried to hit on me. I've noticed when my hair has any sort of highlight whatsoever. Same thing with like MLS guys. I always tend to attract MLS guys anyway, but I've noticed especially if my hair is brown or blonde or it has some sort of highlights in it, then yes, I can end up getting more attention in that area. So I'm actually glad that I did that little experiment because I could have spent the rest of my life wondering like, oh, I wonder what I would look like with a different hair color. I wonder if my life would be different in any way if I had a different hair color. I wonder how I would be treated if I had a different hair color. Instead of spending my life wondering and instead of spending my life hating on women who had highlights, that's one of the dumbest things ever, in my opinion. Why would I waste my time hating on women who have the highlights versus just trying them out on myself? And by the way, when it comes to pretty privilege in particular, I used to always say that pretty privilege doesn't matter and that it was not important, but I was saying that because I had it. It wasn't until I no longer had pretty privilege to the point where I realized, wait a minute, no, this is actually one of the most important things in my life. So the way that I lost my pretty privilege was I actually got very sick at one point, like a long time ago, in my 20s, and I ended up gaining weight because I was kind of like in the bed all the time and stuff and just eating or whatever. So I ended up gaining weight. A side effect of me being sick was I actually lost about 70% of my hair. So my hair was literally like bald, pretty much, kind of like the Jefferson guy. You know how there's like that big giant bald circle in the middle of your head, and then you just have hair around your perimeter. So I became bald like that. And then I remember I got a lot of rashes all over my skin, including my face. So I had so many really bad, dark rashes on my face to where I could no longer wear makeup. So, yes, I was going out in public with rashes on my face. I was dumb enough to go out actually bald. Like, I tried my best to cover up the bald spot. Like, I would try to put my hair in a bun or something, but you could absolutely still see through my hair. Like, I literally just had strings of hair left on my head. This was before I knew that wigs were like affordable. I thought that all wigs were like $500. So I had never even thought about it. So I was walking around with my hair looking like a wet rat, and I had rashes all over my face, and I had gained weight. I became fat. Well, in my opinion, it's fat. I was like almost 200 pounds. I'm 5'9", but in my opinion, that was like fat to go from a size 0 to that. So I remember I realized that I did not have pretty privilege anymore when I went to my favorite coffee shop. It was a coffee shop that I had always gone to, and it was also my first time going out in public since being sick. I just wanted to go out. And also, another side effect, so I became so fat to where I couldn't fit any of my clothes. So I remember I was just wearing these running shorts and like an old frumpy t-shirt, and I couldn't even fit my bras either. So I was wearing like this really big stretchy bra. So basically my boobs were like saggy looking. So I remember walking into this coffee shop, and I actually was stunned. I was like, wait, no one is looking at me. Nobody turned to see me walk through the door. And I never realized that I had spent my whole life like that. I never realized that I was so used to people always looking at me, just in general, to the point where I thought it was a normal human reaction to look at whoever walks through the front door of a coffee shop, or, you know, for the workers and stuff to look at you, or for people to kind of react to your presence. That whole time, my whole life, I thought that that was just a normal human reaction. Like, this reacts to everyone. When you walk into a coffee shop, people turn and look at you. When you walk in the mall and stuff, people stare at you naturally. People are naturally looking at your hair, your makeup, everything. I didn't realize that all of my experiences in my life up until that point were actually pretty privileged. And so I walked into this coffee shop, nobody looked at me. And I remember trying to make eye contact with the girl that worked at the coffee stand, like trying to make eye contact to see if she would like look at me and smile, and I don't know, to see if the even the workers would look at me or be like, "Hi, like welcome in," because I'm used to people always saying, "Hi, welcome in," or I don't know, just kind of like noticing me more, for lack of better words. I'm used to people noticing me. So nobody noticed me, or they would just kind of look over and keep working. Like, they didn't react, they didn't smile. I was so used to people kind of smiling at me, or at least snarling at me, at least give me a dirty look, like you're threatened at me or something. That was kind of my experience up until that point. So, but I didn't realize the psychology of what was happening to me at that time. But now I realize it is because I had lost the pretty privilege, and I remember in that moment, actually, I realized I'm just average. I'm average right now because, you know, I'm fat basically. By the way, no shade if you look like this. Well, actually, I'm pretty sure most of you guys don't look like this. Most of you guys probably don't have big circular rashes on your face like how I did. But yes, I had like rashes on my face. And I was like, oh, maybe I look extremely ugly. But then I was like, if I was extremely ugly, people would look at my rashes and stuff. They would look at me and be like, oh wow, like, you know, kind of feeling sorry for me. Like, I've been around people like that before too, because I have family members who are, maybe they're disabled, or, you know, people will look at them and kind of like feel sorry for them. So they will smile at them as like a pity smile or something. Or, you know, if the person is, let's say they're in a wheelchair or they have something really wrong with them, like they have one leg, usually people will still at least look at them, or sometimes they will naturally stare, or children will stare out of curiosity. So I noticed I wasn't getting any reaction whatsoever. So that was when I realized I'm average, or I'm invisible. So I remember I immediately went back out to the car, and I went to get my makeup bag, and I had like a toothbrush in there, and I literally like went in the bathroom in the coffee shop and I brushed my teeth and I tried to put a little bit of makeup on, but it didn't make a difference. So that is how I know that pretty privilege exists. And I'm actually really glad that I had that experience because it taught me a valuable lesson. It actually helped me to realize that my whole life I had been walking around with so much pretty privilege or whatever, and I didn't realize that I had pretty privilege until it was gone. And nobody was mean to me or anything, but people, they just were, I was just more invisible, I guess. People were not threatened by me, which was very shocking. I was so used to, usually girls will look at me and roll their eyes or they would kind of like have a bad reaction. No, but because I looked ugly, basically, or average, regular, because I looked regular, people just treated me like whatever, like it's not a big deal. So looking back on that experience, it actually taught me that pretty privilege was important to me and that it was actually shaping my life without me even knowing it because I had always looked the same until I got sick and basically I looked abnormally bad. So I had always looked the same up until that point. But it also made me reflect on women who spent their whole lives feeling like how I felt in that coffee shop, just kind of feeling invisible or kind of like, hey, nobody's reacting to me. Like nobody is like looking over or, girls aren't rolling their eyes. Girls aren't hating on me. I have no haters. Like I'm so used to fueling myself off of people hating on me or like kind of transmuting their jealous energy into, well, this is proof that I'm doing something right because XYZ people are jealous of me. So going from people are jealous of me and guys are swarming me or, people are noticing me, giving me all these opportunities, asking me to do their hair, do their makeup, going from that to nobody's asking me anything, nobody even notices me or they forget that I'm there. I actually can understand why a girl who has spent her whole life like that, I can understand why someone like that would want to experience pretty privilege or why they would be obsessed with it or light skin privilege or whatever. So if I had spent my whole life like that, or let's say I had spent a long time not having pretty privilege, actually all it took was just that one experience in the coffee shop for me to immediately start working on my skin. I started putting different stuff on my face, like whether it was baking soda, lemon, turmeric, so that I could try to get rid of all those rashes and circles on my face because I had really bad hyperpigmentation from these rashes. So I remember doing all of these things so that I could get my privilege back, for lack of better words. And I noticed that all it took was me clearing up my skin and me putting on a wig because I was literally bald. So all it took was me clearing up my skin and putting on a wig. And I was literally still fat. And then I started getting attention again from like guys at Target or, guys just in general trying to look at me and stuff. Or people in the grocery store complimenting me and all of that. So for the people who think that pretty privilege is all about your weight, I think that yes, it's a part of it, like depending on what your personal beauty standards are. But I do think that thin privilege and pretty privilege, they are kind of separate, or at least in my experience, because I actually had pretty privilege even when I was fat. In my opinion, I was fat as fuck. I mean, I was like, well, actually, I probably shouldn't say that because I guess a size 12 to some people, that's not really fat. Honestly, it's really not. A size 12 is like normal or thick or whatever, but I was like a size 12. I still had the flat stomach or flat-ish stomach, but I can understand why women would want to change themselves so that they can attain a certain privilege or, why they would want to change themselves to look a certain way because even I have experienced that before. So this is why I don't shame people if they want to look a certain way, but I just think you have to be honest with yourself though in order to make the changes because how can you face something if you don't even acknowledge its existence? So the first thing I did was I acknowledged what made me ugly. I acknowledged what I felt caused me to lose my pretty privilege. It was the fact that I was bald headed as fuck. Like not the normal, not just like a bald spot. No, I was literally walking around because I was so like not knowledgeable about wigs and stuff. So I was walking around where it's like my hair was in a bun, but you could purely see through the bun. Like that is how bald it was. It was literally like how, like how a chemo patient's hair would be or whatever. So I realized that that was a loss of beauty, having a loss of my hair, and also having a loss of clear skin because I had those marks all over my whole body, not just on my face, but it was just up and down my whole body. I literally had like black circles and black whelps on my arms, on my face, on my neck, like just everywhere. So to everybody else, like to a person that didn't know me, they would have just perceived me as maybe being darker skinned because that's how many rashes I had. It was just very hyperpigmented looking, very like, how somebody looks if they have eczema all over their body. So, like for me, I don't really notice when a stranger has eczema unless it's extremely bad, which mine, it didn't look like very bad eczema. It just kind of looked like maybe I got a tan or something and it was just very uneven looking. So I acknowledged, okay, my hair is not the same as it was. That was a part of my pretty privilege. My skin is not the same as it was. That was a part of my pretty privilege. And I also felt like my weight. I lost, like I ended up losing some weight. But then I realized that even with the weight, all I had to lose was what, 5 pounds or something so small to where it's like, I honestly felt like I looked the same size. But yes, I noticed that my body, oh, and also my clothes. I noticed, when I'm wearing a t shirt, an oversized t shirt, and some running shorts and flip flops, that was not contributing to my pretty privilege. So I was able to be honest with myself and acknowledge, okay, I look uglier right now because, if a woman has better clothes than me, she looks better than me. If a woman has a better hair, she at least has hair. I don't even have any hair on my head right now. So those women with hair on their heads, their hair looks better than mine. Those women whose skin is clear, their skin looks better than mine. So I was able to admit those things to myself, and that was how I was able to start the level up journey. I know this episode is very focused on pretty privilege, and I kind of focus on that a lot because I feel like a lot of women, they do want pretty privilege, and I can tell you that it is worth it to have it, and I'm never going to go another day in my life without having pretty privilege. And this is also why I am pro plastic surgery, because I understand that as I age, as I hit 50, 60, 70 or whatever, I don't want to walk around with no teeth and my face is sagging and then I'm bald because I'm old, because women can go bald too. No, even when I'm 70, I want to look like how Angela Bassett looks or how, one of those women looks. I want to look nice like that. I believe that every woman has a right to feel beautiful. And I really do want every woman on this channel to experience living a privileged life, whatever that means to you. So it could be pretty privilege, it could be the privilege of having wealth or living in a nice neighborhood. But what do you ladies think? What privileges are the most important to you, and what are you willing to do to attain them? Let me know in the comment section, and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.